It was an ordinary Saturday afternoon or so, I thought. I, James, 34 years old, was busy preparing for the annual dinner with my wife Alexandra's family. Our house in the suburbs of Charlotte, North Carolina, where we'd built our life for the past 7 years, was filled with the aroma of dry-rubbed brisket I'd prepped all week. I'd been up since 6 a.m., cleaning the yard, scrubbing the porch, and arranging everything perfectly. But when I stepped into the garage to grab 2 extra chairs for the dinner, I overheard a conversation that shattered my entire world. Thomas, Alexandra's brother, spoke from the garden corner. "I still can't believe you married this loser. Dad was right. You need to divorce him before you have kids and get stuck forever." Then Alexandra replied, her voice as cold as a knife. "I'm working on it. The lawyer says we can take half his company." They laughed as if my life was just a joke. I stood there, chairs in hand, my heart suffocating. But I didn't yell or rush out to confront them. I took 3 deep breaths, put on the fakest smile of my life, and walked back inside to continue being the perfect host. This is the story of how I discovered my wife's betrayal, how I fought to reclaim my life, and the biggest lesson I learned. If you've ever been stabbed in the back by someone you trusted, stick around until the end of this video. You won't regret it. I never thought I'd share this story publicly. I'm the kind of guy who keeps personal matters private, not one to spill my guts online. But it's 3 a.m. now, and I'm sitting here with a glass of whiskey, still reeling from how my life fell apart in just 3 days. I need to get this off my chest, and you strangers on the internet are getting front row seats to this drama. Let me start from the beginning. I'm James, a community college dropout who built a construction company from nothing. Starting with just me and a beat-up truck, I now have 5 crews working projects across Mecklenburg County. It's not a $1 million company, but it pays the bills and leaves a little extra. Alexandra, 32, is my wife. I met her when she was a law student at UNC Charlotte. I paid her tuition, her rent, everything while building my company. Her family, her dad Elijah, a financial advisor, her mom Pamela, a real estate agent, and Thomas, her self-proclaimed genius brother with a business degree, never liked me. They always thought their daughter deserved better than a construction guy like me. Snide comments about my small company or questions about when I'd go back to school never stopped. But Alexandra always defended me, or so I thought. The week before that dinner, I started noticing something was off. Not the usual annoyance when Alexandra was stressed from work or snapped about my dirty boots in the hallway. This was different. She kept checking her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. Every time I passed her laptop, she quickly switched tabs. She started taking calls in another room, whispering like she was hiding something from me. After 7 years together, you notice these things like how I can look at a wall and know it's not plumb. But I didn't want to believe it was serious. I told myself she was probably just stressed from her law firm job where she was pushing to make partner. I was wrong. That dinner was an annual tradition Alexandra insisted on hosting to show off our house to her family. I'd spend all day preparing, cooking, cleaning, arranging. Alexandra was more tense than usual, snapping over small things like me placing a knife in the wrong spot. I thought it was just family pressure and let it go. By 4 p.m., everyone arrived, Elijah with his judgmental stare, Pamela critiquing the living room decor, Thomas and his wife, and Alexandra's sister Magnolia, the only one in that family who seemed decent. By 6 p.m., the dining table was set with the wedding china we rarely used. But I realized we were short 2 chairs, so I headed to the garage. That's when I overheard Alexandra and Thomas talking near the azalea bushes. I was about to call out when I heard my name. I froze. Thomas called me a loser, told Alexandra to divorce me before she was stuck with me. She replied that she had a plan that her lawyer said they could take half my company. They even mentioned some guy named Dominic who was better suited for her and laughed because I suspected nothing. Have you ever felt your entire world shift in a second? 7 years of marriage, late nights helping her study for exams, vacations I skipped to pay for her law books, extra jobs I took to cover her student loans. All of it suddenly felt like a lie, but I didn't make a scene. Something in me turned ice cold. I backed away, grabbed the chairs, took a deep breath, and walked inside with a fake smile. That dinner was a nightmare. I poured wine carved. The brisket laughed at Elijah's terrible jokes, all while watching Alexandra. She played her part perfectly, like nothing had happened. I looked at her, searching for the woman I once loved. Had she always despised me, or was I just now seeing it? When her mom complimented the food and asked for the recipe, I almost laughed. 7 years of hosting family dinners, and now she thought I had something worth learning. I explained the marinade process like a robot while my mind screamed. After dinner, when everyone left, Alexandra started cleaning, humming, like she hadn't just destroyed my life. I said I'd do the dishes and told her to rest. She kissed my cheek, called me a great husband. I nearly gagged at her audacity. When she went to bed, I checked her laptop. It had a new password, but I knew her password habits. On the third try, I got in. Emails to her lawyer started 3 months ago. The plan was to wait until she made partner at the law firm, use my income to secure her position, then divorce me and take half my company. There was even a spreadsheet listing my company's assets, our joint accounts, and a timeline for the divorce. I found bank transfer records she'd been siphoning small amounts to a separate account monthly, small enough to go unnoticed. Smart. Very lawyer-like. I checked our joint savings. $20,000 was gone, money I'd saved for company expansion, our future. Then I saw texts with someone saved as Dominic. They'd been messaging for 6 months. Dominic wasn't just better suited, he'd been test driving my place. I didn't sleep that night. Or the next. On Monday, I took my first day off in 3 years and met a divorce lawyer Mike recommended by a friend. I told him everything, showed him the screenshots. Mike was blunt. In North Carolina, she could claim half my company's value even though she contributed nothing because it grew during our marriage. When I heard the potential figure, I nearly passed out. Everything I'd built, sacrificed for, could be split and handed to the woman who planned to ruin me. I asked Mike. So I just take it. He talked about settlement deals, minimizing damage, but I wasn't listening anymore. Something in me shifted. That night, Alexandra asked if I was feeling better, brought me soup, acted concerned. I played along, said I was just tired, maybe catching a cold. She told me to see a doctor, acting like she deserved an Oscar. I nodded, thanked her for caring, said I loved her. She said it back without hesitation, 3 meaningless words spilling out while she planned my destruction. I watched her scroll Instagram on the couch, pausing to like a photo of us from last Christmas, captioned @couple goals. I almost laughed out loud. Living with her was like living with a stranger wearing my wife's skin. Every move, every word was calculated. Had she always been this person? Was I blind for 7 years? Or did she change? Did it matter? I was never a vengeful guy. When a contractor screwed me over, I cut contact. When a client paid late, I negotiated. But this wasn't business, this was my life. Lying awake the second night, watching Alexandra sleep peacefully beside me, maybe dreaming of spending my money with Dominic, something in me hardened. A clarity I'd never felt before. I started acting the next morning. First the bank, then my business partner, then key clients. By noon, I had a plan. By evening, I knew exactly what I'd do. Alexandra wanted war, fine, but she was bringing a butter knife to a chainsaw fight. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about showing her and her family who they'd underestimated. The loser they'd mocked for 7 years was about to teach them a lesson in consequences. Let me share another true story to show I'm not alone. I heard about Lisa, a teacher in Raleigh, through a divorce support group. Lisa supported her husband Brian through medical school, working extra hours to pay bills. When he became a doctor, she found out he was cheating with a colleague. Not only that, he'd transferred their joint savings to a secret account, planning to divorce her and leave her with nothing. Lisa didn't lose it. She hired a PI, gathered evidence, and secured her assets before confronting him. Lisa's story is like mine. Betrayal often comes from those you trust most, but how you respond defines who you are. Back to my story. Tuesday morning, I called the bank, set up a meeting with a financial advisor. I suspected from Thomas's comment at the dinner about Alexandra's parents helping her when the time came. My hunch was right. Alexandra had applied for a home equity loan 2 weeks earlier on our house, mostly in my name, since I paid the down payment before marriage, the house I'd renovated myself, increasing its value by nearly $100,000. I was the primary signer, but the paperwork was nearly finalized. 1 more week and she'd have $200,000 in cash with me partially liable. I canceled the loan, transferred half the joint savings, exactly my contribution, to a personal account. Petty maybe, but far less than what she planned to take. I did something I'm not proud of, but circumstances forced me. I installed tiny audio recorders in the living room and bedroom, legal in my state since it's my house. I also set up a camera in the home office pointed at Alexandra's desk. Then I walked the dog around the neighborhood, waved at neighbors, tossed a ball with the Jenkins kid, picked up dog poop like it was a normal day, all while planning to dismantle my marriage. That night over dinner, Alexandra was distracted, constantly checking her phone. When I asked about her day, she gave vague answers. Her phone buzzed, and I glimpsed Dominic. "Who's Dominic?" I asked, voice calm, reaching for more pasta. She froze for a second. "Oh, a new client at the firm. Urgent case." Then she flipped her phone face down. That tiny hesitation said it all. "Important, huh, if they're texting during dinner?" I said, still playing the chill husband. She gave an awkward laugh, said some people don't know boundaries. I nearly choked on the irony. After dinner, she said she had work to do and disappeared into the home office. I cleaned the kitchen deliberately, making noise so she'd think I was busy. Then I quietly stood near the office door, left ajar. I heard her voice, low, intimate, not the tone she used with clients or family, but a bedroom voice. "You can't call anytime you want. No, he doesn't suspect anything. Just be patient. I miss you too." Each word was a nail in the coffin of my emotions. The anger I'd suppressed wanted to explode. I wanted to barge in, confront her, end this farce. But that would ruin everything. I went back to the kitchen, turned on the faucet, pretended to wash dishes, and planned my next move. In construction, timing is everything. Pour concrete too soon after rain, it won't set. Rush framing, the whole structure wobbles. This revenge needed time to take shape. Wednesday morning, I accidentally left some blank divorce papers printed from the county website on the nightstand. When I came out of the bathroom, they were slightly shifted. She'd looked. But she said nothing, and neither did I. At work, I quietly prepared called clients who owed me not to collect, but to gather info. Turns out Dominic wasn't random. He was Thomas's college buddy, came from a wealthy family, the kind of guy Alexandra's parents always wanted for her. More interesting, Dominic had been at family events I missed for work, birthdays, ski trips, even a yacht trip I skipped for a big project. Through a mutual contact, I learned Dominic and Alexandra dated in college before I met her. Things started clicking. This wasn't just an affair, it was a long game. I also made a detailed spreadsheet logging every cent I spent on Alexandra through law school tuition books, rent, the laptop I bought for her graduation, bar exam prep courses, her interview suit, late-night Ubers because I didn't want her taking the bus after class. Total $143, $600, not counting interest, I could have earned investing that money in my company. That night, Alexandra initiated intimacy for the first time in months. I almost laughed at the timing. Was this part of her plan too? Keep me satisfied, off guard, while she orchestrated my financial execution. I reciprocated, acting as she expected, but felt only coldness. Afterward, as she slept, I sat in the dark, watching the ceiling fan spin, counting rotations instead of sheep. One thought kept looping. When did this marriage become a lie? Was I just a stepping stone for her? Thursday morning, I met Magnolia, Alexandra's sister, at a coffee shop. I arrived early, scrolled Reddit, read supportive comments from strangers online. Some suggested extreme things I'd never do, but similar stories made me feel less alone. Magnolia arrived looking nervous. She was always different from that family, more genuine, less obsessed with appearances. After small talk, she took a deep breath and spilled she'd known about Alexandra and Dominic for months. She caught them at the family lake house during a weekend I missed for an urgent job. She confronted Alexandra, who swore it was a one-time mistake. It wasn't. Alexandra, drunk, told Magnolia the whole plan: stay with me until she made partner, then upgrade to Dominic, taking half my assets. Magnolia told me because she couldn't take it anymore. She said she always liked me, thought I was good for her sister, didn't understand why her family never gave me a chance. I thanked her, careful not to reveal I already knew most of this, and asked her to keep it secret. She agreed, looking relieved. As she left, she hugged me and whispered an apology. It was the first human connection I'd felt in days. Thursday night, I escalated the plan. I faked a company crisis, called Alexandra, said I needed an emergency meeting Friday night because a major client threatened to pull out, potentially bankrupting us. I begged her to help and invited her family to advise. She hesitated, said she had plans, but I pushed, letting my voice crack, saying I was scared of losing everything. I played on her guilt. She agreed, said she'd call her parents and Thomas. Perfect. Friday morning, I made final preparations, set up the dining room, hide evidence in a folder by my plate, uploaded everything to a tablet, screenshots, recordings, financial records. I bought Alexandra's favorite pastries from a bakery in downtown Charlotte. At the company, I had a candid talk with my business partner who was shocked but supportive. He knew what I'd sacrificed for Alexandra's law school. When I got home, Alexandra had set the table with our nice china. She was tense, constantly checking her phone. I asked if everyone confirmed. She nodded, distracted. I suggested inviting Magnolia, too. She was surprised but agreed, texting her sister. The whole crew would be there perfect. Upstairs showering, I rehearsed what I'd say, the order of reveals for maximum impact. It felt like prepping for the biggest client pitch of my life. I wore the outfit Alexandra once called professional: dark jeans, blue button-up leather shoes instead of work boots. My final role as the devoted husband. Downstairs, I heard Alexandra on the phone whispering thanks to the living room recorder. I knew who she was talking to, what she was saying. Let her think she was in control. The doorbell rang. Alexandra jumped quickly, hung up. Her parents arrived first. Elijah, with an expensive bottle of wine, shaking my hand with his usual condescending grip, immediately asking about the company crisis with a smug tone. Thomas and his wife came next, then Magnolia, who wouldn't meet my eyes. The gang was all here. As we entered the dining room, Alexandra touched my arm, asked if I was okay. Her voice sounded so genuine I almost doubted myself. Then her phone buzzed, and I saw Dominic's name before she silenced it. All doubts vanished. I sat at the head of the table, the evidence folder by my plate. Alexandra was on my right, Elijah on my left. Her mom asked about the wine. Magnolia looked at me with curiosity and fear. She knew something was coming, just not what. I stood, wineglass in hand. Everyone quieted, expecting me to talk about the company crisis. I smiled, looked at each person, Alexandra last. Before I get to why I called you here, I said, raising my glass, I want to toast to family, to loyalty, and to finally seeing things clearly. The confusion on their faces was just the beginning. They had no idea what was coming. I sat down, took a sip of Elijah's fancy wine. About the company crisis, I said, Alexandra, squeezing my hand, feigning support. I almost admired her acting. I found some serious issues threatening everything I've built. Right under my nose. Elijah leaned in, smug. Financial trouble. Cash flow problems. I always said your business model wasn't sustainable. Actually, I said connecting the tablet to the TV, the problem isn't my company, it's my marriage. The room went silent. Alexandra's hand froze on mine. James, she whispered, what are you doing? In construction, when you demolish, you don't start with the roof. You take out the foundation first. I played the recording from the previous dinner. Thomas's voice boomed. You need to divorce him before you have kids and get stuck, Alexandra replied. I'm working on it. The lawyer says we can take half his company. Thomas paled. Alexandra's mom covered her mouth. Elijah's face tightened. Magnolia closed her eyes like watching a crash she knew was coming. Alexandra sat there paralyzed as her plan crumbled. I showed screenshots of texts with Dominic, carefully edited but damning. 6 months, I said quietly. 6 months you cheated while I worked 60-hour weeks. I turned to her parents. Did you know she was cheating or just that she planned to divorce me? Elijah tried to interrupt, but I wasn't done. I opened the spreadsheet, $140,600 I spent on Alexandra's law school. This is what I invested in our future while building my company from nothing. The next screen, her secret account and the canceled loan application. And this is how she thanked me. The room erupted. Elijah stood knocking over his chair. Nonsense, Alexandra, let's go. Alexandra grabbed my hand. James, I can explain, Thomas. The coward tried deleting texts under the table. I pointed at him. The texts you're deleting, I've got them all. Every time you helped her plan. Thomas froze, looking at his horrified wife. Alexandra switched tactics. It's not like that. I was confused, unhappy. We've been distant for years. Distant, I repeated. When I paid your tuition, when I built our future, I didn't mean to lose it, but I roared. 7 years, I believed in us, and you just saw me as a stepping stone. Her dad cut in. Your issues are private. But if you think you can threaten my daughter with this ambush, you're mistaken. We have resources you can't imagine." I laughed. "Rush resources? You mean the $20,000 she took from our joint account, or the loan she tried to take on my house?" As Alexandra texted under the table, I dropped the final bomb. "Did Alexandra tell you Dominic is married too?" The room went dead silent. Elijah froze mid-sentence. "Yeah, I found out yesterday. His wife's name is Rachel. Very understanding when I showed her the texts between her husband and my wife." Alexandra's face went white. "You did what? Had coffee with her yesterday? Fair's fair, she deserved to know." Elijah lost it, grabbing the dining table, the one I built, and flipping it. Food, wine plates crashed. Alexandra screamed. Her mom panicked. Thomas backed away. I sat there strangely calm, watching 7 years of lies shatter. Magnolia was the only one who helped clean up. Our eyes met across the wreckage, and she gave a small nod like respect. Elijah pointed at me, handshaking. "You think you won? You're nothing. You build houses because you're too dumb for college. My daughter made a mistake lowering herself to you, but we'll fix it." I stood slowly. "I may work with my hands, Elijah, but at least I built something real." "What have you built besides a family of lies?" He lunged, trying to swing. Thomas held him back while he screamed about lawyers. Alexandra kept saying, "James, let's talk privately. This isn't what I wanted." I shook my head. Nothing to say. "You want a divorce, half of what I built. I'm done." I opened the front door. "You should all leave now." Thomas dragged his dad out. Magnolia went last, pausing at the door. "I'm sorry. I always thought you deserved better." Then it was just me and Alexandra in the wrecked dining room. "Where will you go?" she asked, voice small. "I've got a hotel. I'll come back tomorrow for my things when you're at work." "You planned all this," she whispered. I learned from the best, I said, grabbing my pre-packed bag and walking out. She called after me. "You'll regret this. My dad's not joking about lawyers." I didn't answer. That night at the hotel, I slept better than I had in months. The next day, I returned while Alexandra was at work, grabbed my clothes tools, family photos, the dog stuff, and left my key on the counter. I rented a small apartment near my work yard, not hiding, just needing space. I avoided social media emails focused on settling in. The dog adjusted fast. Animals always know when something's wrong in a house. Tuesday morning, I turned on my phone. It buzzed nonstop. 47 WhatsApp messages from Alexandra. First angry, "How dare you humiliate me like that? You ruined everything." Then pleading, "James, call me. We need to talk." By message 30, bargaining. "I'll go to therapy, cut off my family, please talk." Message 45 was just, "I'm sorry." The last two at 3:14 a.m., I told Dominic everything about the money, the divorce plan. He said we should still be together. Then he called to break it off, said he's saving his marriage with Rachel. Now I have no one. I read them without emotion. No satisfaction, no gloating, just exhaustion, like finishing a tough build and knowing the client will never appreciate it. Another message came, "James, I know you read these. Please tell me what you want." "Money, the house, I'll sign anything." She still didn't get it. This wasn't about money, it was about betrayal, years stolen. I replied, "I sent divorce papers to your office. I just want this over fast." She responded instantly. "Can we meet back just to talk?" Before I could reply, Mike called. Rachel, Dominic's wife, had contacted him. After I showed her the evidence, she dug deeper and found Dominic had scammed other women too. She wanted to trade info for our divorce cases. As Mike spoke, I looked around my bare apartment mattress on the floor, unopened boxes, the dog watching me with patient eyes. This wasn't the life I imagined at 34, starting over. But sometimes you have to tear everything down to fix a rotten foundation. I agreed to meet Rachel for coffee, not a date, but a shared understanding of betrayal. After hanging up, I texted Alexandra one last time. Nothing to say. The marriage is over. Communicate through lawyers. Then I blocked her number. That afternoon, I took the dog hiking at Crowder's Mountain. My phone buzzed a text from Magnolia. She said Alexandra was staying with her parents. Her dad was furious, but her mom was starting to question what really happened. Alexandra's perfect daughter image was cracking. Magnolia also quit the degree program her family pushed her into pursuing her own passion, said my courage inspired her. I replied, "Thanks for the update. Hope you're okay." She responded, "I'm better than ever. Thanks to you." As the sun set, I watched the dog explore, tail wagging carefree. 7 years of future destroyed, but I had freedom. Truth, a chance to build something real. Rachel confirmed the coffee meet, sent a link to a support group for people divorced over financial deceit. Turns out this is more common than I thought. I pocketed my phone, called the dog, and headed home. Dinner, unpacking small steps day by day like any construction project. The foundation comes first, and this time I'd make sure it was solid. This story isn't just about me. It's a reminder that betrayal can come from anywhere: spouse, friend, business partner. I heard about Mark, a shop owner in Asheville, through a divorce forum. His wife Karen planned a divorce after he funded her boutique. She secretly funneled profits to her lover. Mark found out, confronted her publicly at a charity event, presenting financial records, ruining her reputation. Like me, Mark learned betrayal is a signal to reassess your boundaries. If you're watching and have been betrayed, think, what red flags did you miss? I ignored them for years, but now I trust my instincts. You should too. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe I'll grow the company, find new love, or just enjoy hikes with my dog. But I know I'm stronger than I thought. Alexandra and her family called me a loser, but I built a company, a life, and now I'm rebuilding myself. The biggest lesson: your foundation, your values, boundaries, self-respect is what you must protect. Betrayal is a crack, but you can patch it or tear it down to build better. I chose to rebuild. What will you choose? I stood there watching my dog bound along the trail at Crowder's Mountain, the sunset painting the forest gold. 7 years of marriage, a future I thought was forever, now just ashes. But I wasn't despairing. I felt free. Free to rebuild, to be the man I wanted, not the one Alexandra's family wanted me to be. But this story wasn't over. The days and weeks that followed got more dramatic, like a movie I never thought I'd star in. Twists, new revelations, and moments that made me realize I didn't fully know Alexandra, her family, or even myself. You guys, if you thought that dinner was the climax, brace yourselves, because what happened next will keep you glued to the screen. After the hike, I returned to my small apartment, cracked open a beer, and sat with my unpacked boxes. My phone kept buzzing, not Alexandra anymore since I'd blocked her, but messages from unknown numbers. Some were friends who'd heard about the divorce and checked in. But one message stopped me cold. It was from an unsaved number, just, "James, you need to know the truth about Dominic. Meet me at Rusty Nail Wednesday 7 p.m. Don't tell anyone. No signature, no clue. I read it over and over, heart racing. Who knew about this? And why so secretive? Rusty Nail was an old dive bar in downtown Charlotte, a locals spot, not a place for cloak and dagger Hollywood meetings. I thought it might be a prank, but my gut said I had to go. In construction, sometimes a small sign, a crack in the wall, leads to a bigger issue. I replied, "I'll be there." "Who are you?" No response. The next few days, I tried focusing on work. My company was mid-project, rebuilding a community center in West Charlotte, but my mind kept drifting to that message. Who wanted to meet? And what was the truth about Dominic? I thought I knew enough. He was Thomas's college friend. A rich guy had an affair with my wife for 6 months. But what if there was more? I called Mike, told him about the message. He warned, "Be careful, James. This could be a trap. Alexandra and her family aren't lightweights. Don't go alone." I agreed, but I knew I had to find out. I texted Dave, my business partner and high school friend, asked him to come along, sit at a distance and watch. Dave didn't ask much, just said, "I'll be there. If it's sketchy, I'll deck the guy for you." Wednesday, I arrived at Rusty Nail early, wearing a denim jacket and baseball cap to blend in. The bar was busy, but not loud, smelling of beer and fries. I picked a corner table, ordered a Guinness, and waited. At 7 p.m., sharp, a woman walked in, about 40, brown hair in a high ponytail, wearing a blazer and jeans, looking more like a teacher than a spy. She scanned the room, saw me, and approached. "James?" she asked, voice low. I nodded, motioned for her to sit. I'm Karen, she said. No, handshake. I used to work with Dominic at his old company. You need to know what he and Alexandra were really up to. I frowned. What do you mean I know about the affair, the divorce plan, all of it? Karen shook her head, pulled a USB from her bag. No, you only know the surface. This changes everything. She slid the USB across the table, but didn't let go. Before I give you this, you have to promise not to tell anyone I gave it to you. If Dominic finds out, I'm in big trouble. I nodded, feeling like I was in a cheap spy flick. Okay, I promise. She released the USB and I pocketed it. Karen continued. Dominic isn't just Thomas's friend. He's a partner in a bigger scheme with Alexandra's family. They didn't just want your company, they're after your connections in the construction industry. I froze. What do you mean? My company's not that big. Karen gave a thin smile. It's not about size, it's about your clients. One of your projects involves a major real estate developer in Charlotte, right? They want those contracts. Pamela Alexandra's mom has been working with Dominic to get to them using Alexandra as the bridge. Blood rushed to my head. My company was working with a big developer on the community center project, a contract that brought not just money, but clout. If Pamela and Dominic were targeting that Alexandra's plan wasn't just to take my money, but to destroy the business network I'd built. What's on the USB, I asked. Karen stood. Emails, contracts, texts between Dominic, Pamela, and someone else at the development company. You'll see, Alexandra wasn't just cheating, she was part of a business plan. I have to go. Don't contact me. She left before I could ask more. I looked at Dave across the room. He nodded, signaling all clear. But I wasn't okay. I went home, plugged the USB into my laptop, and what I saw kept me up all night. The USB held hundreds of emails and documents. One email chain between Pamela and Dominic discussed leveraging my connections to secure contracts with the developer. Alexandra appeared in a few emails agreeing to provide info on my projects in exchange for a cut of the new contract's profits. There were texts between Dominic and someone named R. Callahan. I didn't know who, talking about cutting James out of the game after Alexandra's divorce. One email from Pamela chilled me. Once Alexandra finalizes the divorce, James won't have the resources to compete. We'll have a clear path. This wasn't just personal betrayal, it was a calculated business conspiracy with my wife at the center. I called Mike the next morning, sent him all the data. This is gold, Mike said. If we can prove Alexandra and her family used insider info from your company for business gain, we can turn this around. She won't get a dime from your company and could face civil lawsuits. But I didn't just want to win in court. I wanted them to pay not with money, but with truth. I decided to keep the USB secret, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But first I needed to know who R. Callahan was. I asked Dave, who has some real estate contacts, to dig around. 2 days later, he called back, R. Callahan is Robert Callahan, a development exec at the real estate company you're working with. Guy's got a rep for playing dirty, was sued once for stealing project info. Looks like he's working with Pamela and Dominic to push you out. I was stunned, but it made sense. Callahan had been overly friendly in meetings, asking detailed questions about my processes like he was fishing. I realized I'd been too trusting, not just with Alexandra, but in business. I decided to confront Callahan, but not directly. I set up an urgent meeting with the real estate company, saying I'd found a security risk in the project. At the meeting, I presented documents from the USB, anonymized, just said they came from a trusted source. Callahan went pale when he saw his own emails. His boss, an older man named Howard, demanded an explanation. Callahan stammered, called it a misunderstanding, but Howard wasn't buying it. We don't do business with unethical people, James Howard said. Thanks for bringing this to light. We'll investigate internally. Callahan was suspended on the spot and my project was secured. But I knew this would get back to Pamela and Dominic, and I wanted to see their reaction. Sure enough, that evening I got a call from an unknown number, Pamela. James, we need to talk, she said, voice strained, no trace of her usual condescension. What's going on with the real estate project? You're sabotaging my business. I laughed coldly. Pamela, I'm just protecting what I built. Maybe ask your daughter and Dominic about those emails. She went quiet, then said, You don't know who you're dealing with. No, I replied, you're the one who doesn't know. I hung up, heart pounding. I knew I'd just lit a new fuse, but I was ready. A few days later, Magnolia texted James, "Be careful. My dad hired a private investigator to dig into your life. He thinks you have something on the family." I wasn't surprised Elijah wasn't the type to back down, but I was a step ahead. I hired a cybersecurity expert to check my company's systems, ensuring no vulnerabilities Alexandra's family could exploit. I also met Rachel, Dominic's wife, a second time. She brought new documents. Turns out Dominic wasn't just cheating on her and me. He was tied to a money laundering scheme through real estate deals. Rachel had contacted a criminal attorney and she wanted me to join because the USB emails could be evidence. "He thinks he's untouchable," Rachel said, eyes red, "but I'll make him pay." I agreed to share the data but asked to keep my name out. I didn't want to get dragged into a criminal case, but I wanted Dominic and Alexandra's family to know they couldn't touch me without getting burned. Meanwhile, Alexandra kept trying to reach me. After I blocked her number, she used her work email, sending long messages, sometimes apologizing, sometimes threatening. One email read, "James, I know I was wrong, but you don't need to destroy my family. We can settle. I'll waive any claim to your company. Just stop." I didn't reply. She still didn't get it. This wasn't about money. It was about justice. I forwarded all her emails to Mike for him to handle. But one email stopped me. It wasn't from Alexandra, but Thomas. "James, you think you're smart, but you're playing with fire. Back off or you'll lose more than your company." I laughed out loud. Thomas, the coward, hiding behind the dinner table, now threatening me. I saved the email, sent it to Mike, and told him to prepare for dirty moves from Alexandra's family. Then another twist hit from an unexpected source, Alexandra's mom, Pamela. She showed up at my company one morning unannounced. I was in the office reviewing blueprints when the receptionist called, "There's a Pamela here to see you. She looks stressed." I told them to let her in, but braced myself. Pamela walked in, no trace of her usual haughtiness. Her hair was messy, eyes shadowed. "James," she said, sitting without invitation, "we need a deal. Alexandra went too far, and I don't want my family destroyed." I raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean? You were in on this, Pamela. I have your emails with Dominic." She paled. I didn't know it would go this far. I thought it was just helping Alexandra secure a better future. But Dominic, he's not what we thought. He manipulated everyone, me, Alexandra, even Elijah. I couldn't believe my ears. Pamela, who always treated me like trash, was begging. "What do you want me to do?" I asked, voice cold. She took a deep breath. "Stop investigating Dominic. Give me the emails and I'll ensure Alexandra signs the divorce papers without taking anything. I'll return the $20,000 she took from your joint account." I gave a bitter laugh. "You think I'm stupid? You and your family tried to ruin me. Now you're scared because Dominic might drag you all down." Pamela looked down the first time I'd seen her weak. "James, I'm sorry. I was wrong to underestimate you. But Dominic, he's more dangerous than you think. He has connections you don't want to cross." I didn't answer right away. Just said I'll think about it. But don't expect me to trust you. She left, leaving me with a new sense of unease. Pamela was right about Dominic. He was more dangerous than I thought. The next week, I got an anonymous envelope at the company. Inside was a photo of me and Dave at Rusty Nail the night I met Karen, with a handwritten note. "Stop digging or you'll have nothing left to build." No signature, but I knew who sent it. Dominic was watching me. I wasn't scared, but I wasn't stupid. I installed security cameras around the company and apartment, hired a bodyguard for a few weeks. I also sent the photo and note to Mike for him to report to the police if needed. But I didn't stop. If Dominic thought he could intimidate me, he didn't know who I was. Meanwhile, I got word from Howard, the real estate company boss. After suspending Callahan, they found he'd been leaking project info to Pamela and Dominic for over a year. Howard invited me to his office, thanked me for exposing the issue, and offered to expand our contract, not just the community center, but a new residential development in South Charlotte. It was the biggest deal of my career, enough to take my company to a new level. "You've got guts," James Howard said. "Not everyone stands tall after what you've been through." I shook his hand, feeling like I'd climbed a mountain. But just when I thought I was winning, a new shock hit. Magnolia called me late one night, voice trembling. "James, Alexandra's in the hospital. She tried to hurt herself last night. My parents are freaking out blaming you." I went numb. Despite everything she'd done, I never wanted Alexandra to harm herself. "Is she okay?" I asked. Magnolia hesitated. "She's stable, but she told the doctor you threatened her, said you made her lose everything. My dad's using this to sue you." I felt the ground drop again. Alexandra, even in her breakdown, was trying to drag me down. I called Mike immediately. He reassured me. "Don't worry, we have enough evidence to shut this down. But it's a dirty move. Her family's trying to use sympathy to sway public opinion." Mike suggested I meet a local journalist who covered complex divorces. "If they're playing the media game, we need to get ahead," he said. I agreed, but only if my identity was protected. The journalist, a woman named Claire, heard my story and reviewed the USB emails. "This isn't just a divorce," she said. "This is an organized business conspiracy. If you allow it, I can go public without naming you." I agreed, but asked to protect Magnolia and Rachel. Claire's article ran in the Charlotte Observer a week later, titled "Real Estate Scheme Uncovered in Scandalous Divorce." Though no names were used, industry insiders knew it was about Alexandra's family. Pamela lost major clients. Elijah faced an ethics review at his firm, and Dominic vanished from Charlotte rumors, said he fled to Florida to dodge a money laundering probe. Alexandra, after leaving the hospital, moved to Atlanta to stay with a distant relative. Magnolia texted, "She's not herself anymore, James. I think she regrets it, but it's too late." I didn't feel victorious. I felt relieved. I kept working, growing the company, and joined the divorce support group Rachel recommended. I met people like Lisa Mark and dozens of others who were betrayed but stood back up. Each story was a brick in my new foundation. I started writing a book not just about my story, but to help others see they're not alone. I called it Rebuilding from Ashes because that's what I was doing. One evening, I got a handwritten letter, no return address. Inside was one line: "Thank you for doing the right thing. K." I knew it was Karen who gave me the first USB. I smiled, tucked the letter into my keepsake box next to family photos and my high school baseball medal. My life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. And this time I was building on a solid foundation: truth, self-respect, and the lesson that no one can take what you build with your own hands. My life now feels like a construction project being rebuilt from scratch, each brick, each steel beam placed carefully to avoid past mistakes. James thought that after the Charlotte Observer article, after Alexandra left Charlotte and Dominic disappeared, things would settle down. I thought I could focus on the company new projects and healing the wounds from 7 years of a fraudulent marriage. But life, like a construction site, always has surprises. What happened next not only shocked me, but pulled me into a maze of new secrets, threats, and decisions that forced me to confront who I really am. You guys, if you thought my story was dramatic, get ready, because what I'm about to tell you will keep you glued to the screen. A few weeks after the article, my company started landing new contracts thanks to the reputation from the Community Center project and my good relationship with Howard, the real estate company boss. I hired 2 more crews, opened a smaller office in Gastonia to handle suburban jobs. Life seemed on track. I walked the dog every morning, joined group runs at Freedom Park, and even started dating via an app, though nothing serious. But one afternoon, while reviewing blueprints at the office, my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I answered, and a low, cold male voice said, "James, you think you got away. You ruined my plans. Now, I'll ruin you." Before I could ask, they hung up. The number wouldn't reconnect, just a message. It was disconnected. I sat there, gripping the phone, heart racing. Dominic. It had to be him. But where was he? And why now? I called Mike, my lawyer, told him about the call. "James, don't take this lightly," Mike said. "Dominic may be in hiding, but if he's reaching out, he's desperate. He might be trying to scare you, or worse. Send me the number. I'll have a friend at the police check it." I did, but my mind swirled with questions. Dominic knew where I was, what I was doing. Was he really as dangerous as Pamela warned? And why was he still targeting me when everything had collapsed for him? I beefed up security, added cameras around the apartment and office, told staff to report anyone suspicious near the company. But the unease didn't fade. I started double-checking doors before bed, glancing over my shoulder while walking. In construction, you learn to spot small cracks before they bring down a building. That call was a crack, and I knew it led to something bigger. A few days later, another surprise hit, this time from Magnolia. She texted asking to meet at a small coffee shop in Noda Charlotte's artsy district. "James, I need to talk in person. It's about my sister and something else." "Don't tell anyone." I agreed, but I was more cautious this time. I asked Dave to come along, like at Rusty Nail, to sit at another table and watch. When I arrived, Magnolia was there wearing an oversized sweater, looking more exhausted than our last meeting. She didn't beat around the bush. "James, Alexandra's coming back to Charlotte," she said, voice shaky. "She told our parents she wants to make things right with you. But I don't believe her. She's different. She's obsessed with getting back what she lost, and I heard her mention Dominic on the phone." I frowned. "Dominic? Didn't he dump her to save his marriage with Rachel?" Magnolia shook her head. "That's what she told me, but last week I saw her call a number in Florida. I eavesdropped. She called the person D and talked about putting James back in his place. I think she's still in contact with Dominic." This hit like a punch to the gut. Alexandra wasn't just returning, she might be working with Dominic on something against me. "Where is she now?" I asked. Magnolia bit her lip. "She's staying with a friend in Dilworth, but my dad's paying for an apartment for her to start over." "James, I'm worried for you. My dad's still got that PI, and now Alexandra's acting like she has a new plan. I don't know what it is, but she mentioned your company, saying she deserves a piece." I thanked Magnolia, told her to keep our meeting secret, and left the cafe feeling like I'd walked into a new storm. Alexandra, Dominic, Elijah, they weren't letting go. But neither was I. I decided to get proactive. I contacted Rachel, Dominic's wife, to see what she knew. We met at a breakfast spot in Plaza Midwood, serving Southern-style biscuits and strong coffee. Rachel looked drained but determined. "James, I hired a PI to track Dominic," she said, sliding a stack of documents across the table. "He's not in Florida like the rumors. He's in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, living under a fake name. My PI found him at a small real estate firm, but he's working with a group on more money laundering deals. And guess what? One of his partners is linked to Elijah, Alexandra's dad." I flipped through the documents, photos of Dominic at a rundown office, wire transfer receipts, and email from Elijah offering to collaborate on a new real estate project. "They're not giving up," Rachel said. "They think if they can break you and me, they'll take back what they lost." Anger surged, but I held it in. "Rachel, do you think Alexandra's in on this?" She nodded. "My PI overheard a call between Dominic and Alexandra. She's not just aware she's helping him. She promised to feed him info on your company in exchange for a cut of his new deal's profits." "James, she's not remorseful. She's playing a new game." I gripped my coffee mug, trying to stay calm. Alexandra didn't just betray me in our marriage, she was trying to destroy me again. But this time I had evidence, allies, and a plan. I teamed up with Rachel and Mike to build a civil lawsuit against Dominic, Elijah, and Alexandra. We hired a financial fraud lawyer, Diane, a Charlotte legend, who never lost corporate cases. Diane reviewed everything, the USB from Karen Rachel's documents, my PI's emails. "James," she said, "this isn't just a divorce anymore. This is an organized conspiracy to steal your assets and sabotage your business. If we do this right, we can not only protect your company, but make them pay dearly." She proposed filing a civil suit seeking damages and a criminal investigation into Dominic's money laundering. But she warned, "This will get ugly. Alexandra's family has money connections and they'll fight back." I knew Diane was right, but I had no choice. If I didn't fight, they'd never stop. I agreed, but asked to protect Magnolia and Karen's identities. Diane nodded. "We'll play tough, but smart." Meanwhile, I got a message from Alexandra, this time through an anonymous messaging app. "James, we need to talk. I know what you think of me, but I can explain. Meet me at Romare Bearden Park, Saturday, 3 p.m. Just me." I almost deleted it, but part of me was curious. What did she want? And why a public park? I called Mike, who advised, "Don't go alone. Record everything. She might be trying to gather evidence against you." I agreed, hid a small mic in my jacket, and asked Dave to tag along, blending into the park crowd. Saturday, I arrived at Romare Bearden Park, a green oasis in downtown Charlotte full of families and joggers. Alexandra was there on a bench, wearing a long coat and wide-brimmed hat like she was hiding. She looked thin, her eyes shadowed, but still had a lawyer's sharpness. James, she said as I sat, thank you for coming. I didn't smile. Talk, Alexandra. What do you want? She took a deep breath, glancing around like she feared being watched. I know you think I'm a monster, but I'm trapped. Dominic, he's forcing me. He has dirt on me, things I did at the law firm, things that could ruin my career. I didn't want to hurt you, but I had no choice. I almost laughed. No choice. You cheated for 6 months, planned to take my company, and now you're saying you were forced. You think I'm stupid? Alexandra grabbed my hand, eyes welling. James, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong, but Dominic isn't who you think. He's tied to dangerous people. People who'll hurt you if you don't stop. Drop the lawsuit and I swear I'll disappear from your life. I pulled my hand back, voice cold. You disappeared from my life the night I heard you and Thomas laughing behind my back. You want me to stop? Give me evidence on Dominic and who he's working with. Alexandra paled. I can't. He'll kill me. She stood, hurried off, leaving me with a bigger question. Was she telling the truth or acting again? I sent the recording to Diane and Mike. Diane listened, said she's either panicking or trying to manipulate you. Either way, we don't stop. But be more careful, Dominic might be watching you both. Around then, I got another envelope at the office, this time a new USB no note. I carefully checked it on an old laptop wary of viruses. It contained a security camera video source unclear. It showed Alexandra and Dominic in a parking lot arguing fiercely. Dominic slapped Alexandra, she cried, but then they hugged before leaving. At the end, text appeared, "They're not the only ones. Check Elijah." My heart pounded. Who sent this? And how was Elijah involved? I sent the USB to Diane, who hired a video analyst. The video was traced to Myrtle Beach near Dominic's office. Diane also found Elijah wasn't just funding Dominic's real estate deals, he was using his financial advisory firm to hide illegal funds. James Diane said this is a small criminal network. Elijah's not just a dad protecting his daughter, he's part of it. I was shocked, but not surprised. Elijah always acted noble, but his eyes were always calculating. I decided to confront Elijah, but not face to face. I sent an anonymous email with a clip from the second video with a note. I know what you're doing. Stop, or this video goes to the FBI. I didn't expect a reply, but hours later, my phone buzzed, Elijah calling from his firm's number. James, you're playing a dangerous game, he said, voice shaking with rage. You think you can threaten me? I can destroy you with one call. I laughed. You already tried, Elijah, and I'm still here. Tell Alexandra and Dominic the game's over. I hung up before he could say more, but I knew I'd just poked a hornet's nest. The fallout came fast. The next morning, my office was broken into. Nothing valuable was taken, just some papers shuffled and a note left on my desk. Last chance, James. Stop. I called the police, added new locks, hired a nighttime security patrol. But I didn't stop. I contacted Claire, the journalist, shared more info from the new USB, still keeping my identity hidden. She published another article this time, detailing Elijah's ties to shady real estate deals in Myrtle Beach. The article went viral, Elijah was fired from his firm, and the IRS started auditing his finances. Meanwhile, Alexandra sent one final email, James, you won. I'm done. I'll sign the divorce papers, take nothing, just please forgive me. I didn't reply. Forgive maybe someday, but not today. I focused on the company, new friends in the support group, and my book. But one last twist came one evening when I got a call from Karen, the woman who gave me the first USB. James, she said, voice shaky, I have to leave Charlotte. Dominic knows I gave you the evidence, but before I go, I want you to know the person who sent the second USB wasn't me. It was someone in Alexandra's family. I don't know who, but they wanted you to win. She hung up and I sat there stunned. Someone in Alexandra's family was on my side, Magnolia, or someone I'd never suspected. I still don't have the answer, but I know one thing: this story changed me. I'm not just a construction guy anymore. I'm a survivor rebuilding from ashes, and I won't let anyone, Alexandra, Dominic, or Elijah, take what I've built. Each day, I lay another brick in my new foundation, and this time, nothing can shake it. The question of who in Alexandra's family was on my side haunted me for days after Karen's call. Magnolia was my first thought. She'd helped me from the start, but would she have the guts to send the second USB knowing it could destroy her whole family? Or was it Pamela who begged me to stop? No, Pamela was too self-serving. Elijah, no way. He'd rather die than help me. I felt like I was staring at a concrete wall on a job site, knowing a secret was hidden behind it, but no way to break through. But in construction, if you can't find a way, you make one. And that's exactly what I did. The weeks that followed my story got more dramatic with twists that made me question everything I thought I knew. You guys keep watching because what happened next is a roller coaster of surprises. I started by digging deeper into the second USB. I brought it to Diane, my lawyer, and asked her to hire a tech expert to trace its origin. "James, are you sure?" Diane asked, eyes worried. "If this is someone in Alexandra's family, digging could stir up bigger trouble. They might turn on you." I nodded. "I need to know who's behind it. If they're helping me, I have to protect them. If not, I need to know my enemy." Diane agreed, and within days, her tech guy, Leo, a disheveled dude who chugged Red Bull nonstop, called me. "James, this USB was sent from a computer at a public library in downtown Charlotte," Leo said. "No personal traces, no cameras, no logins, nothing. But I found something interesting. The video file was uploaded to a cloud server before being copied to the USB. That server links to a temporary email account, and guess what? That email contacted Magnolia 2 months ago." Magnolia. My heart raced. So it was her. But why didn't she tell me directly? I texted Magnolia immediately asking to meet again, this time at a more private spot, a small park near Lake Norman, far from downtown. I didn't want anyone, even Dave, knowing about this meeting. When I arrived, Magnolia was waiting on a wooden bench staring at the shimmering lake under the afternoon sun. She looked more nervous than ever, clutching her purse tightly. "James, you know, don't you?" she said as I sat, no preamble. I nodded, pulling out the USB. "You sent this. Why didn't you just tell me?" Magnolia looked down, eyes welling. "I was scared, not just of my parents or Alexandra. I'm scared of Dominic. He's not just some cheating guy, James. He's connected to really dangerous people. I heard my dad talk about them people who can make someone disappear if they get in the way." A chill ran down my spine. "Magnolia, what do you know, and why help me?" She took a shaky breath. "I helped you because you're the only one in this family who ever treated me like a person, not a puppet. Alexandra, my parents, they always wanted me to follow their script, study what they chose, live the life they wanted. You were the only one who asked what I wanted. And I knew about that video because I stumbled on it on my dad's laptop. He didn't know I had his password. I copied it, sent it to you because I couldn't let them destroy you more." I looked at her, feeling both grateful and worried. "The video shows Alexandra and Dominic arguing and mentions Elijah. What do you know about him?" Magnolia bit her lip. "My dad's not just working with Dominic. He owes money to a group in Myrtle Beach, people tied to Dominic. They're pressuring him to help Dominic to settle the debt. Alexandra got pulled in because she needed money to keep her spot at the law firm. It's not just an affair, James. It's a network. Network." The word echoed in my head like a chainsaw on a job site. Elijah, Alexandra, Dominic. They weren't just targeting me personally. They were caught in something bigger, and I'd accidentally become a roadblock. "Magnolia," I said, voice low, "do you have any proof about this group?" She shook her head. "No, but I heard my dad mention a guy named Vito, somebody in Myrtle Beach. I don't know more, but James, you have to be careful. If they find out I told you, I don't know what'll happen." I took her hand gently. "Thank you, Magnolia. I'll protect you. But I need you to stay quiet, and if anything new comes up, tell me right away." She nodded, gave me a quick hug, and left. Driving home, my mind raced. Who was Vito, and what kind of hornet's nest had I stumbled into? I told Diane everything, and she jumped into action. "James, if there's a criminal group involved, we need to escalate this," she said. "I have a contact at the FBI who handles financial crimes. I'll send him everything we have, USB video emails. But you need to brace yourself. If the FBI gets involved, your life will be turned upside down." I nodded. I lost 7 years to Alexandra. I've got nothing left to lose. Diane sent the materials, and just days later, I was contacted by an FBI agent, Marcus Reed. Marcus was a tall man in his 50s with a voice so calm it seemed he'd seen it all. We met at a small faux shop in East Charlotte where no one would notice us. James Marcus said, sliding an iced tea across the table, "What you've provided is serious. We've been tracking a group in Myrtle Beach for years, and Dominic's one of the links. But Elijah and Alexandra were a surprise. We need your help." Help how I asked, feeling like I'd stepped into an action movie. Marcus leaned in. "We need you to be bait. Dominic and Elijah see you as a threat, but they don't know how much evidence you have. If you can get them to show up, meet, talk, anything, we can record, track, and catch them. But I have to warn you, this is dangerous." I sat there processing. Be bait for the FBI face Dominic and Elijah, knowing they might be tied to dangerous criminals. But then I thought of the 7 years I sacrificed, how Alexandra laughed behind my back, how Elijah called me nothing. I nodded. I'll do it. But I want Magnolia and Rachel kept safe. Marcus agreed, promising protection. The FBI's plan was simple but risky. I'd send another email to Elijah this time, attaching a clip from the second video with a note. "Meet me at the old warehouse in West Charlotte. Friday 9 p.m. Bring Alexandra and Dominic. We'll settle this. If not, this video and everything I have goes to the FBI." I knew Elijah couldn't resist. He was too arrogant to back down. Diane and Marcus set everything up. I'd wear a wire, the FBI would station a surveillance team around the warehouse, and a SWAT team would be ready if things went south. Dave, though worried, wanted to come, but I convinced him to stay at the office, ready to call local police if I didn't check in within an hour. Friday night, I drove to the warehouse, an abandoned textile factory, now just rusted walls and broken windows. It was pitch black, lit only by faint streetlights. I stood in the parking lot, heart-pounding wire hidden under my jacket. At 9 p.m. sharp, a black SUV pulled up. Elijah stepped out first, followed by Alexandra. But no Dominic. Instead, another man, tall, thin, silver hair, and a black suit emerged from the back. "James," Elijah said, voice tense, "this is Vito. We'll talk, but on my terms." My blood ran cold. Vito. The guy Magnolia mentioned. He stared at me with snake-like eyes, said nothing, just nodded to Elijah. "Give me the video and everything you have," Elijah said. "We can make a deal. Money, whatever you want." Alexandra stepped forward, voice shaky. "James, please. I don't want this to go further. I'll leave Charlotte, never bother you again." I looked at her, searching for the woman I loved, but saw only a stranger. "A deal," I said, voice icy. "After you stole $20,000, cheated, and tried to tank my company. After you." Elijah helped Dominic plot against me. "And what's Vito here, your cleanup guy?" Vito finally spoke, voice raspy. "You're smarter than I thought, James. But smarts won't keep you alive long. Hand over the evidence or I guarantee you won't see tomorrow." I knew the FBI was listening, but I needed to stall for them to move in. "Fine," I said, faking hesitation. "But first, tell me why target my company." "It's not worth all this effort." Elijah smirked. "Your company, no, James. It's about your contracts. Howard and his real estate firm are the big fish. We needed you out of the picture so Pamela and Dominic could take those contracts. Alexandra was just a tool, a very good one." Alexandra turned to Elijah, shocked. "Dad, you said I was leading this. You said it was for my future." Elijah shrugged. "You're my daughter, but you're too weak, Alexandra. Without Dominic, you'd have done nothing." That's when it all broke loose. Alexandra screamed, lunged at Elijah, pounding his chest. "I did everything for you. I ruined my life for you." Vito grabbed her, pulling her back, but before he could do more, floodlights blazed and police sirens wailed. "FBI hands up, get down," SWAT swarmed in guns trained on Elijah and Vito. Alexandra collapsed, sobbing. Elijah tried to run but was tackled. I stood there, heart hammering, as Marcus approached, clapping my shoulder. "Good work, James. We got it all on tape." Elijah, Vito, and Alexandra were arrested on the spot. The FBI seized their phones and laptops, finding more evidence of the Myrtle Beach money laundering network. Within weeks, charges were filed not just against Dominic, Elijah, and Vito, but a dozen others in the network. Alexandra, to lessen her sentence, agreed to testify against her dad and Dominic. She got 3 years probation and lost her law license. Elijah got 7 years for financial fraud. Vito, a minor crime boss, got 15 years. Dominic, caught in Florida thanks to Alexandra's info, faces multiple charges, possibly life in prison. But the story didn't end there. A month after the arrests, I got a call from Howard, the real estate boss. "James, you're one of a kind," he said. "After everything, you stood tall. I want you to lead the entire new residential project, not just building, but managing it end to end. And I have an investor who wants to meet you." The meeting was at a fancy uptown Charlotte restaurant. The investor was Laura, a former CEO of a major Atlanta construction firm. Laura didn't just want to invest in my company, she wanted to partner, expanding it across the Southeast. "I heard your story," she said, smiling. "You don't just build houses, you build resilience. I want to work with someone like that." We shook hands, and I knew this was the biggest break of my career. Meanwhile, Magnolia visited me at my company's new office, now in a bigger South End building. She brought a box of pastries from my favorite bakery and a bright smile. "James, I did it," she said. "I opened an art studio in Noda, teaching kids to paint. My parents don't control me anymore. Thank you. If you hadn't stood up, I'd never have dared." I hugged her, feeling like something good finally came from Alexandra's family wreckage. I kept writing my book, Rebuilding from Ashes, and landed a publishing deal with a small Raleigh press. The book isn't just about me, it's about everyone I met. Rachel, Magnolia, Lisa, Mark, people who turned pain into strength. I started speaking at divorce and entrepreneurship conferences, sharing my story to inspire. One evening after a talk in Durham, a woman approached me. She introduced herself as Sarah, Karen's cousin. "Karen wanted me to tell you she's safe," Sarah said. "She's in Canada now, starting over. She says you're her hero." I smiled, feeling a circle close. But one final twist came one morning when I got a handwritten letter from prison penned by Alexandra. "James," she wrote, "I don't expect forgiveness. I destroyed everything, and I'll live with that forever. But I want you to know I was wrong, and I did love you, even if you don't believe me. Thank you for showing me who I am, even if it's someone I'm not proud of. Wishing you the best." I read it, folded it, and put it in my keepsake box. I didn't reply. Not out of anger, but because I'd let go. Alexandra was the past, and I was building the future. Now my company's thriving with projects across the Carolinas. I bought a small house in Charlotte's suburbs with a backyard for my dog to romp in. I started dating Emily, an interior designer I met on a project. We're taking it slow, but she makes me laugh, something I didn't think I'd find again. Every day I wake up knowing I didn't just survive, I'm living. And that you guys is the biggest lesson. No one can take your foundation unless you let them. I rebuilt, and this time it's stronger than ever.